We are going to talk about um, improv, comedy, and employee recognition. And you all say, uh, okay, but that's a little weird, right? It's not something that you would normally expect. And let me just tell you a little bit about why these two things go together. In addition to being an evil HR person, I also perform in an improv comedy team and I teach improv comedy. Um, and doing this and having these two seemingly very different lives, they're very much together because the skills that you learn in improv comedy are the skills that you need to do work with people. And that's what HR does is we work with people. And these are the basic principles of improv comedy. And we're going to go through some of these. The first is yes and this is the most fundamental building block of improv comedy because improv comedy isn't like stand up where you just get up and tell how your childhood traumatized you and try to make people laugh at your childhood trauma. Improv comedy works by getting suggestions and interaction with the audience, which is precisely what we do in HR. We shouldn't be just sitting in our offices, being focused on ourselves and our own issues. We're out there listening to the people. And the yes and is you have to accept whatever they say and build on it. And so, of course, employees lie to us from time to time. I know that is shocking, but um, but when you have a reality, you just have to build on it, and that's what we're going to talk about. The second thing is listening. And this is an incredibly important part of our job, and it's an incredibly important part of improv comedy. If you're not listening to what the audience is saying, what your fellow team members are saying, you're going to fall apart. Service, same thing. We're going to try to make life easier from other people. This next principle, everything you say is right, is something that you guys all go, no, not true, because I've been in a lot of investigations and I know not everything everybody says is right. This is within the context that we'll talk about it, where that you're just going to try. You're going to try and fail with joy. And I see a wonderful comment. Who is this joy person? And why doesn't she ever achieve her goals? Poor Joy. Poor Joy. She's very sad. But we're going to talk about failing with joy and how critical that is for improv. So let's start with all of that in mind. But now let's go over the principles of employee recognition and how they match with that. First of all, your employees are your most valuable asset. Now, back in the day when everybody worked in factories, and some of you may work in manufacturing where you have a gajillion dollars worth of manufacturing equipment, you might say, well, that's my most important asset. But it's not, even if you spend a gajillion dollars on it, because without your employees, you're not doing anything. And Erin says your employees are your first customers. Exactly. If your employees are not happy, your customers will not be happy. You won't accomplish anything. And without your employees, you don't have a job. This whole concept where managers are like, you should be thankful to me for giving you a job, should be like, you should be thankful to me so that you can have a job. Because without employees, you're not running your business. Happy employees are engaged employees. Gallup just came out with their state of the workplace goal for state of the workplace report for 2023. And they found that engaged employees have less stress than unengaged employees, considerably less stress. It is more stressful to be unengaged working at home than it is to be engaged working in the office. So even adding in that commute and your annoying coworkers that chew too loudly, that sit in the cubicle next to you, it's still less stressful than being unengaged at home. So, and engaged employees are productive employees. So these are our principles behind employee recognition. We want to make our employees happy, right? That is our goal. And all of these things, how do they relate? How are you going to have this relationship between making bad jokes on stage and recognizing employees? Well, first of all, we're not going to make any bad jokes. Our jokes are all going to be good. But it is talking about engaging with your audience, which are your employees and the managers that you work with. These are these people that you are going to take their ideas and you're going to build on them. And we're going to do that with the principle of yes and. Now, if I'm on the stage and my team member says, hey, your hair is on fire, I cannot say, no, it's not. Because that just, I mean, what kind of a comedy show is that? No, it's not. I immediately, my hair is now on fire. I start screaming, running around, pretend to throw some water on it, whatever. Or I can take a different tact and be like, yes, that's my superpower, actually. And then talk about how I am this superwoman that can have my hair on fire. I don't quite know what purpose that superpower would be, but you know what? Let's find out. I'm going to build on that, right? I'm going to take it and go with it. And the question that we asked at the beginning for the icebreaker was a low cost way to recognize people. Let's say you are like, listen, we really need to do employee recognition. We really need to do this. We really need to do that. And the CEO or the CFO, most likely your head of finance, is like, you have $5. You can whine and cry and say, no, I need 500. Or you can accept what you have and build on it. If you're whining and crying is fun. Like complaining is something that we all enjoy. Don't tell me you don't enjoy it. You do enjoy complaining, but it doesn't solve anything. So instead, okay, I've said my piece. I presented my evidence that, engaged employees are happy employees, are productive employees. We want to recognize people. It really helps. And the CFO says, no, here's your craptastic budget. So you're going to say, yes, and how do I change that? And the next thing is, when you're thinking of how to recognize employees, remember that your employees may not like what you like. I look like a normal human, and you think, oh, at one point, Suzanne was a teenager. Suzanne was never a teenager. I've always been an old lady. And so, like, everyone was like, oh, teenagers love dances. No, I did not. But did anybody ever take me into consideration? No, they did not, because everybody thinks, yes, teenagers love dances, right? Companies get trapped in that cycle. Oh, everybody loves pizza. Well, most people love pizza, but that is not exactly what everybody loves. And you're not listening. And sometimes you are looking to meet your own needs. And I love this old comic strip from Calvin and Hobbes because it just really goes over it. I'm looking for this. Oh, Erin, yes, pineapple belongs on pizza. I agree with you. Yes, you are my new friend. But anyhow, it goes over Hobbes. They're trying to think of a gift for Susie, who is their Calvin's crush and enemy. And Hobbes comes up with a can of tuna fish, which of course nobody wants, but he wants. And so often our rewards are things that we want. We think about what I want. I would really like this. I had a discussion on LinkedIn yesterday where somebody said they find it really offensive when she was from an Eastern European country living in the UK. And she said, I find it really offensive when people compliment my English because it makes it seem like they recognize I'm not part of them, that I'm an other. And I said, hey, I'm a native English speaker living in Switzerland. I love it when people recognize and compliment my German. I'm like, yes, yay, right? Same thing, two different points of view. And one is negative, one is positive. You as a manager, as an HR person, you want to find out what your employee's point of view is. And in order to do that, to yes and your employee, you have to listen. And listening is so important. Did you know that you spend most of your time in a conversation thinking about what you're going to say next? we spend very little time actually listening to the person we're speaking with, and a lot of time thinking about what we're going to say next. Now, most of the time, that works out okay because humans are actually very predictable. And so when we're talking about pizza in the comments, which we are, pineapple on pizza, and someone says, no, I'm allergic. And then someone else adds in pineapple is my new favorite on pizza. We can pretty well predict when she said, or he said, pineapple is, we know that it's going to be something about pizza, that most likely given the topic of conversation, we're going down the pizza route. We're not going to be like, pineapple is great in fruit salad, which it is, but that's not what we expect. So it's kind of okay most of the time. Oh, yes, I've realized I've had entire rebuttals prepared based on the first point someone makes, then realize that they listened to what they're really saying. My argument was obsolete. Listening is to understand is so key. Yes, absolutely. That listening to understand is super duper important. So I'm going to teach you a couple of improv games, and I warned Aaron I was going to call on him, and he has no idea what I'm going to say, but now he has to play along. He's going to yes and me. So we're going to play two games, Aaron. The first one is called the headline game. And what we're going to do is we're going to give newspaper headlines to each other. But the key thing is that the first word in your headline has to be the last word in my headline, and vice versa. This is a listening game because it forces you to listen to everything I say before you can formulate your headline. Are you ready, Aaron?
Well, based on my wife's feedback, I'm probably not going to be good at this game, but I'll do my best.
All right. Okay. So here is your first headlines. Truck drivers go on strike in Ohio.
Ohio is the place to be.
Oh, that's a tough one for me. Okay. Be careful. Alligators are loose in the sewer.
Sewers are where you'll find Ninja Turtles.
Turtles, the new favorite pet.
Pets are everyone's best friend.
Awesome. Now, notice how we had to wait till the end before you could even begin, right? There's no planning, oh, what am I going to talk about? Because you have no idea. This is really hard to do in conversations. But then we have a second game. Aaron is such a good sport. Is the last letter game. And this one you can play when other people don't even know you're playing it. And this is something that I actually use if I'm having trouble concentrating on what somebody else is saying, is that you have to begin your statement with the last letter of the last word that they say. So, Aaron, once again, if I say, thank you so much for helping me with this game, then you're
Everyone
going to say,
loves this. Everyone loves this game.
everyone does love to play.
You should play more games with me.
Excellent idea.
I agree.
Excellent. Um, you'll notice there was a little bit of pauses between our sentences. And that's because we had to wait. Now, did we stay on topic? Yes, we did. We had a coherent conversation, but there was a little bit of a pause. That can sometimes make us uncomfortable. Our culture, and I say our culture, we acknowledged at the beginning that Rebecca, Aaron, and I are on as far apart as we can get, really. I mean, we needed a fourth person in Australia to really round us out. But Western culture, European, American, Canadian, we're all uncomfortable with that pause. And that's why this is not the topic of my thing. But if you are doing an investigation where you're interviewing employees, just make pauses, and then they will start confessing all sorts of stuff. It works really well. That's just a little pro tip. But don't be afraid of silence. give yourself, yeah, Leslie says some people you speak with are terrified of silence. Absolutely. Absolutely, people are. But on these principles of improv comedy, when we're listening to the other people around us, sometimes we need to pause and sometimes we need to think. And when you're trying to figure out what is best, how can I reward my employee? How can I meet their needs so that they can be happy in their job and be more productive? Listen. Listen to what they are saying and don't try to come up with an answer. And yes, and body language also is very important. If you're like, yes, I definitely agree with what you're saying. That's very different than, yeah, oh my gosh, what a great idea. Just the tone of voice and how you use your body. It's harder to see on Zoom. Aaron has his little hands, which I totally should have ordered some for today, which would have been awesome. I'm going to get some. Um, but it's this learning to listen. And with this listening thing, we can move on to the next principle of improv, which is service. When we are thinking about employee rewards, we are doing two things, that's two twos, two things with service. One, we are thanking other people for what they've done. And I just noticed the comment, I find it very easy to misconstrue body language. I, for one, frown when I'm listening hard or concentrating. Yeah, some of us, and by some of us, I mean me, have that resting bad word face. I can't say that on Zoom. So, yeah, that is kind of a problem. It can definitely be something to think about and to maybe bring up. Like, listen, I'm concentrating. This is how I look. And my working mom face. Yes, yes, exactly. That's a much better. I'm going to steal that. The working mom face. People will know that, and that's not offensive. Okay, but we're thanking them for their service, and we are actually also trying to serve them, right? We're trying to make it easier for other people. So, for instance, if I say, Aaron, you did such a great job in that game that I totally didn't prep you on at all, which is actually true, I did not prep him on it at all. What can I do to thank you? On the one hand, that's really nice, right? That he gets, but it also gives him no boundaries. And he's like, I would like a purple Lear jet. And I'm going to be like, oh, I was thinking maybe I'd send you an email saying thank you. Like those two things are so incredibly far apart. But when I say, what can I do to thank you with no parameters around it, then you have people getting upset and they have um, expectations. My friend Brenda Neckbottle, who is an HR consultant, she says her number one live and die rule is in the absence of information, people make stuff up. And this is true within employee rewards as well. If you're clear about what the expectation is as performance, what the expectation is for rewards, we're just going to pay you your regular paycheck. That's all you're going to get from us. Then I'm not upset when there's no pizza party or there's no bonus because you've been very clear. But if you lead me on to be like, well, if you do a really good job, there's going to be a big prize at the end of the week. And so I'm like, ooh, there's going to be a bonus. There's going to be a fancy lunch. There's going to be this. And then the big prize is like, here is a fun size Snickers bar. I mean, I'll eat it because it's candy. I'm going to eat it. But you set it up and you've made it difficult. We don't want to do that. We want to make things clear and easy for people. We don't want to just say, hey, what would you like for a reward? But hey, here are the boundaries. Here are things that you can choose from. Or here's a price range. What are you looking for? Or give us your wildest dreams and we'll try to find a solution within budget. Whatever it is, you're going to make it easier for them. This applies in all areas of management. When you give people clear guidelines, it makes it easier for them. People say, I want out of the box thinking. Great. But out of the box gives so many opportunities that sometimes people can't think. So if I just said to Aaron, say something funny.
Small hands are funny.
See, it's like you can't just say something funny. But if I had a conversation with him, which I have before, and he's a very funny guy, he'll say things funny. It was part of that conversation because we've set boundaries. This is the topic we're talking on. This is how we're doing it. So we want to make it easier. We're going to listen. We're going to make it easier. And we're going to build boundaries. And I said this concept of whatever you say is right. This is an improv concept. It's very important. And what we mean by this within improv comedy on the stage is that if I say your hair is on fire, then that is correct. Your hair is on fire. If I say, oh, look, it's my brother who I haven't seen in 25 years, then you were my brother who I haven't seen in 25 years. And nobody says, oh, that was really dumb. You just move forward. And oftentimes when we're trying to come up with ideas, whether it is to, solve world hunger or to come up with a reward for someone or to figure out a way to land the client or whatever, we do this thing we call brainstorming. And you've all done brainstorming. And brainstorming is great. I have nothing against brainstorming, but there's not boundaries around it. And that makes it harder. So I have another game, and this is called 5 Things. And this one, I don't think I'll make Aaron do. Maybe I'll make it. Should I make Aaron do it? I got no response in the comments. Camilla says yes.
I guess one yes is it.
One yes is it. I've got 2 yeses. 3 yeses. All right. Okay. Aaron's never going to speak to me again. He's going to block me on LinkedIn. All right. So the thing with 5 things is it's like brainstorming, but with a limit. The limit of 5 things. And the reason why we do this is because it makes you more creative in 2 ways. One, it forces you to do more than 1 and more than 2. Generally, what happens is people will come up with first thing, second thing, and then by third thing, you're like, but you're forced because you got to do 5, right? And you get to 5 things and we're all going to cheer. That's what we're going to do. Now, we're all on Zoom and you can't hear me, so I'm going to be the one to cheer, but for Aaron, and then Aaron's going to make me do 5 things too, and then he can cheer for me. We're also going to, after the first thing, the first one, we're going to say 1 all together, and you guys are going to say it even though you're sitting in, maybe you have coworkers around, you've got headphones on, and they'll all think you're crazy, but that's okay. And then when the second thing, we're going to say 2, and the third thing, you're going to say 3. You see the pattern? The reason for doing this, you want to do this in a meeting with your coworkers or with your employees, is you're trying to come up with ideas. It enforces that, hey, you are good. You are coming up with ideas, and it doesn't matter how stupid they are, because everything that you say in this is right, and we're going to have this boundary around it. So, Aaron, would you be so kind as to tell me 5 things that you would like to see in the office refrigerator?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that.
Awesome.
I'll start with the first one. Beer.
1. Now, if we're in a group, all of you would say 1. Second one.
Peanut butter.
2.
7-Up.
3.
Tacos.
4.
Kool-Aid.
5. And now we would all say 5 things. 5 things, 5 things, 5 things, 5 things. Now, Aaron.
Tickets
Did
to a
I
Trump.
say that's really dumb?
Oh.
Did I say, hey, I'm an HR person, I don't want beer in the fridge? No, because that's not the rules of the game. Everything you say is right. And so this method is so good for getting ideas and having people know when they're done. Now, of course, if you're coming up with some plan for a real thing, you can do things after that, but the 5 is the boundary. So there's no anxiety that he was like, oh my gosh, is she going to keep asking me for more? Is there going to be more? Is there going to be more? Is there going to be more? And I'm going to be like, I need those black olives that you put on your fingers when you were little, which would be awesome in the company fridge. I'm not opposed to that. There's no pressure. It's 5 things and it's all up. Now, Erin, if you want to make me give a list of 5 things, you can give me a topic and I will come up with 5 things.
Okay. So, 5 things that you can say to your mom, but not the CEO.
Oh, can you wake me up? I have an early meeting tomorrow.
1,
Oh, perfect. Can I borrow your car?
2,
Uh, um, I don't make enough money.
3,
Um, are you sure you want to go out in that? You look really frumpy.
4,
And I love you so much.
5 things, 5 things, 5 things.
Right. Woohoo! Exactly. That was super fun. That was a great topic. That was a great topic, and we got out some ideas. I find this so much more effective than traditional brainstorming because it's got limits around it. I can come up with 5 things. You can come up with 5 things. Everybody can come up with 5 things, and they can be ridiculous. Somebody said, does this dress make me look fat? Yeah, that is not something you want to say to the CEO. It's okay to ask your mom if it makes her look fat, but it's not okay to tell your mom that her dress makes her look fat. Actually, you know what? My kids are real honest with me, and I appreciate that. So they would tell me if the dress made me look fat. So I appreciate that. This is a tool that you can implement in your meetings as soon as we're done here today. It's really easy and it helps bring things on. So when you are looking for ways to reward your employees, maybe sit down and do this 5 things here. You'll get a whole list of stuff, and then you can decide whether they're reasonable or not. Not everything that comes out of here is going to be a great idea. And your best idea may be your first thing, and it may be your 5th thing. You're not going to know until you start it, until you try it. And that brings us to our next thing, which is failing with joy. And as we recognize, poor Joy, she's always failing. Not all of the things that I did were great. Not all the things that Erin did were great. Although I really 2 thumbs up with 7-Up. I haven't had Kool-Aid for like, I don't even know how many years, like 30. Do they still make Kool-Aid? Like, they must still make Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
I'm just old and
Mm.
don't make Kool-Aid. Anyway, some ideas are great, some are bad. It's fine. We're gonna fail. And when we're talking about employee recognition as well, we have to realize that not everything is going to go perfectly. Your employees, they're going to make mistakes. And even more shockingly, I didn't know there was a Kool-Aid City. It is in Hastings, Nebraska. And now that's on my travel list because a retro party that gave out Kool-Aid. Oh my word. See, life is exciting and you learn
All
new
started
things.
with one of 5 things.
Now you did. There you go. We're going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes. Erin's going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Everybody's going to make mistakes. We have to foster a culture where it's okay to fail, because without it being okay to fail, we can't succeed. We need to recognize the bad things. Now, this is not my advice to be like super nitpicky and be like, oh, this is what you did wrong, and this is what you did wrong, and this is what you did wrong, and you're all terrible. No. But we need to acknowledge that sometimes things go wrong, and we need to document that. That's the HR side of me coming out. We need to document what's going on. But we also need it to help people know when they're doing things that are right. When I was in graduate school, I had a teaching assistant job, a research assistant job, sorry. And the professor said, here is your task. And then he just disappeared. He didn't give me any more instructions. I had no idea if I was doing it right or doing it wrong. And I didn't know for weeks. I'm working on this thing every day. I had no guidance. I had no idea. How did I feel about that? I was so stressed out because I wasn't receiving feedback. It would have been better for him to tell me what I had done wrong so I could know what I was doing right. And you need both of those things. This does not mean be mean to your employees. No, but we need to provide feedback and ideas on what they can do better. And we need to reward people for taking a risk. Aaron took a big risk. I asked him before if it was okay if I did this. I didn't really ask him, I just told him. But but he said he'd do it. He did say he'd do it, and he did. He took a risk. He didn't know what I was going to ask him. I literally did not tell him at all. He took a risk. He should be rewarded for that risk. He did not fail. But even if he had failed, it's still taking a risk. Let's try it. Now, some companies have better cultures than that and others, and there are some areas in which risks are okay and some in which they are not. When you have an OSHA inspection going on, it's probably not the best time to see how people react to a chocolate fountain on the manufacturing floor. That's an unacceptable risk at the moment. But there are plenty of things that are risky that can have value. And when we're taking risks, we're not doing it in a way that we're going to tell the CEO that her dress makes her look fat. That is a worthless risk, right? There's no benefit from that. But speaking up to the CEO and saying, hey, we need to spend more money on employee recognition. We need to acknowledge people. Hey, what if on your weekly newsletter that you send out to everybody, you include a list of 3 non-management employees and their accomplishments? You could suggest that to the CEO. Is that a risk to tell her to change something? Yes. Is it a super scary risk? No. Might she say no? She might. Might she say yes? She might. These types of things can help people and moving forward. You also have to allow your employees to fail. If you've ever been on a roller coaster, you know you have to go down before you come back up. And the ride would be very, very boring if there was no going down first. You have to do both of those things to make the ride exciting and what it is. But even more importantly than allowing your employees to fail, and this is really, really hard, is allowing yourself to fail and taking risks yourself and doing things that make you a little bit scared. Doing those things can allow you to grow and fail forward. I love that concept. We're going to fail forward. We are going to be moving on. We are trying our best to do things. And we are going to sometimes fail and sometimes succeed. And that's okay, because you know what? We're going to try again tomorrow. And this really cultivates an environment where people are excited to succeed because failure isn't so scary. And you can acknowledge people's attempts. And this is a nice reward for people. When you are talking about inexpensive rewards, saying, oh my gosh, that was such a great job you did. Let's talk about why it didn't work out, but let's talk about why the things that you did that were great. And then let's take those great things and apply them to the next round. And maybe next time we'll have something better. Oh, here's a comment that said, I'm just not seeing the whole part of it. Okay. When I used to do improv, it's trying to think, one of the most valuable lessons I learned was the okay with changing the direction. Why can I not see my whole thing? Um, Changing the direction you had planned in my head. Okay, it's not letting me see all of it, but that's exactly one of my favorite things too. We do a game called Changes, where two people will be having a scene, and then a third person, the director, will say change. So I'll say to Aaron, hey, let's go bowling after this. And the director says change. And I say, let's go get tacos. And the director says change. And I say, let's take over the world. And then you go forward with them. This is part of corporate life. We have ideas in our heads. This is how I want it to go, right? This is my plan. And then things happen and other people take decisions, and the CFO pulls your budget, and your star employee quits, and this and that, and you have to change and be okay with that. This is a really valuable thing, and you're going to fail sometimes. I'm going to fail. You're going to fail. Now, with that, when we are recognizing our employees, we're going to use these principles, the yes, and we're going to build on what we have within the boundaries that we have. We're going to listen to what they say, even if it requires us to have moments of silence, right? We're going to do service. We're going to make it as easy as possible for people to succeed. We're going to set them up for success. We're going to provide feedback to them to help them succeed. And with this concept of everything that you say is right, we're going to have this open attitude when we are brainstorming or playing five things. Whatever is thrown out, it's thrown out, and it's great. We're just going to build on those things, and we're going to pluck out the best things of it, but we're not going to criticize anybody's choices. And when mistakes happen, because they will, we are going to laugh and move on. We're going to learn the best that we can from those things, and then we're going to move forward. And I hope that you can use some of these principles, maybe import some of these games into your fun meetings. And we should all say thank you very much to Aaron. He is such a good sport. And if you have questions, you of course can email me, or the QR code is my LinkedIn. And thanks. You guys have been a great interactive audience.